So this one mistake ruined my life for years, and this mistake also affects millions of people around the world every single day. Now, before I tell you what this mistake is, I just want to give you a little context behind my life so you can understand it a little bit better. But just before we get started, who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, my name's Jermaine. I've made over $700,000 in my YouTube business in the past 4 years, and I've actually made over $285,000 from one single YouTube channel. I don't know if you can see that there. The mistake I'm going to talk about in this video actually stopped me from making money for years, and it wasn't until I got over this mistake I was able to achieve those results on YouTube. Now, when I was a kid, I had a pretty decent upbringing. My father was Jamaican, my mother's English, and my parents were married for 14 years. But after 14 years, things started to get sour, and my mum and dad separated, my dad went away. And at this point, it really started to affect my behavior at home, in school. I started hanging around with the wrong people. At 11, 12 years old, I started drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes, and I really went off the rails, and I ended up in young offenders prison for most of my teenage years. Now, when I reached around 21 years old, things actually started to turn around for me and things started to get positive. I met the lady of my life, my beautiful wife, Leanne. I started to build my YouTube career. I started to make money. I even had a few jobs as well, and it even started an acting career at one stage. So things started to get good for me, but I was still limited by something. Something was still holding me back. Even though things were going well for me, one thing that I used to do is I used to hide all of the things that I did wrong in the past. And because of this, I had to hide certain parts of my personality. I couldn't be myself. I was basically just wearing a mask because I thought that people would judge me if they found out all of the things that I did in the past. And this is the mistake that I made, guys. I tried to hide all of the mistakes that I made in the past. I was ashamed of my mistakes, but also because of the mistakes that I made in the past, I built up this kind of subconscious trauma where I kind of was afraid of making any mistakes in the future, and subconsciously I associated making mistakes as a bad thing because the previous mistakes that I made in my life, it ruined my life. It cost me to spend all of my teenage years in prison, so I was petrified of making any more mistakes because I thought any more mistakes that I made would ruin my life. And this is something it took me years to get over. And this is the thing about society as well. In school, teachers teach us that if we make mistakes, we will fail our tests. The government teaches us that if we make mistakes, they'll take our money and throw us in prison. So we grow programmed to believe that making mistakes is wrong and it's a bad thing, but it's actually not true. It's actually far from the case. But as I started to grow up, I started to realize there's no need to be ashamed of mistakes. And when I started being honest about them and sharing my mistakes with people, I actually got a lot more respect from people. And when I stopped being afraid of making mistakes and started facing them head on, the more mistakes that I made, the more lessons that I learned. And this is when I actually started to make the most progress I've ever made in my life. And this is when I made multiple six figures on YouTube. But this is really what I want to share in this video with you guys. Don't be ashamed of your past mistakes. Embrace your mistakes because this is part of your journey. This is part of who you are. If you hide them from people, people won't respect you for it. They'll actually judge you for hiding those mistakes. But if you share your mistakes, people will respect you a lot more. Something else I learned as well, that for every major success we have, you will have at least 99 minor failures. So it's important to have these mistakes and failures because it's vital for success. Something else that a lot of people do is they are scared to make mistakes in public. They don't want to look out of place. They want to look perfect on social media. They want to appear perfect to the world and to society. And when people do this, they actually live a life as if they're a frozen statue. They don't want to make one mistake out of place. I know it sounds backwards, but by avoiding your mistakes, it's actually counterintuitive to your progress. It limits your potential and it stops you being successful. But by embracing those mistakes, you will learn small lessons, and in those small lessons, you'll make small bits of progress, which compounds into massive success over time. So I hope you found this video useful, guys, but my main message in this video is don't be ashamed of your mistakes and don't be scared to make mistakes. And once you change your perspective about making mistakes, detach your emotions, detach your thoughts from these mistakes, you'll start to see these little lessons are actually very valuable. And when you start to realize this and understand this, you start to make the most progress you've ever made in your entire life. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I hope you found this video useful. If you enjoyed the content, consider liking this video and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.